Khaled Al-Faleh was saying how the job still needs to be done in terms of the production cuts. Are you in favor of extending them for the rest of the year?
I think that it's too early to discuss what happens in the second half of 2019 now, because too little time has passed. It's just been 2.5 months, since the new phase of cooperation has started. Plus, there are too many uncertainties in the market today, which could affect it either way. So I think it makes much more sense to start discussing this topic in May or June, when we actually have a lot more clarity on the state of the market and on how all these uncertainties are playing out.
Russian oil companies have sometimes dragged their feet when it came to cuts. They've been a bit more reluctant. Is it going to be harder to get them on board if you decide to extend for another 6 months of curbs?
I think I would not agree with you about the slow pace of production decline or the lackluster reaction of our companies to this. They are in full conformity with the targets which have been voiced publicly at the end of last year and beginning of this year, so they're fully on schedule, with the adjustment for the climatic peculiarities and the specific factors which are a characteristic of our oil industry. So you cannot immediately in one go reduce production in the winter months. I would also like to add that our companies, they themselves have very good research departments and very good strategic departments, so they're able to see the benefits of cooperation and the benefits of a stable market. But of course, before we make any final decisions on the future of the cooperation in 2019, we are going to once again gather with the companies, discuss all the pros and cons of continuing in this format, and only then we will make a decision. But once again, the decision will be dictated by market needs.
When will Russia be 100% compliant, implementing the 228,000 barrels a day cut?
Currently, we are on schedule in regard to the gradual reduction of production, and this schedule calls for achieving the mentioned targets by the end of March, beginning of April.
Iranian waivers are up in May, so there's a deadline, and potentially they won't get exemptions, and we could see those exports go to zero. Are you worried that this will happen at the same time you're cutting, and the market will just get too tight?
Well, of course, this worries us, and I can say that this is one of the uncertainties which at this moment is very difficult to forecast or predict. If we lived in a free market with no sanctions and no artificial influence on it, then it would have been actually much easier to tackle these things. But today, this is a major factor of uncertainty and a major risk.
Another uncertainty in the market is Venezuela. Given the sanctions on Venezuela, have you seen a boost in Russian oil, Urals, as well as other petroleum products to the United States because Venezuela products are cut off from the U.S.?
We don't monitor the destination of our exports on a daily basis, because these are corporate affairs, and usually oil is supplied in accordance with long-term contracts and so through traders, so it can go anywhere. But at the same time, of course, we see reports and speculation about this topic. But once again, we'll look closer into it over a midterm period. But I would like to once again say that it's a decision of the company's marketing department.
Also on Venezuela, you're supplying naphtha now to them because they're not getting it from the Gulf refineries in the U.S. What other support are you giving Venezuela as they deal with sanctions as well as this energy crisis, which is really hurting their production levels?
Well, first of all, we of course continue working on the legacy projects which we have in the country, and we are acting within the international law and within the signed contracts. And we believe that Venezuela currently has enough potential and enough internal capacity and strength to overcome the difficulties which it has found itself in and resume the path to growth.
Last month, the U.S. president tweeted about prices and urging OPEC to cool off. I want to ask you, are you hearing from other consumers any sort of concerns or anxiety about oil prices getting too high?
Well, I mean, we pretty much hear these things from the same sources as you do, from public statements and the media. But, if you ask for my opinion in regard to this, I believe that currently the price is acceptable to all parties. I mean, it's acceptable both to consumers and producers. And you can see that the level of volatility is extremely low, which also indicates a fairly balanced state at this moment.
If we're balanced at this moment, Do you think there's any need then to extend these cuts in June?
We may be balanced today at this moment in time, but I cannot say the same for April or for any other time period.
Last year, you always talked of this range between 60 and 70 for the price of oil, and that's where Brent is now. Is Russia still happy with that price range?
We are consistent in our views, and I can say once again that $60 to $70 range seems acceptable to the global economy and is sufficient, for budget formation, including for our country. But I can say at the same time that this is a price range which seems to suit consumers as well. So they see it as a healthy level, and at the same time it allows to maintain some investment into the oil and gas sector.